As I said at the end of the last chapter, everything you need to be confident in your ability to pass is in these course materials.
Of course, confidence does not come immediately. As we get into the details, most people at some point doubt their ability to absorb it all and understand how to respond to what the examiners want to see in exam answers. And this leads some people to attempt to find more and more resources. There are loads on the internet. You can, but I recommend against gathering more and more. Instead, focus on reading what you have, rewriting the lists, redrawing the diagrams. One of the hardest parts of preparation is just having the faith that the course materials are enough and you don't have to do more and more and more and more. There's no end to how much you can actually do, but the full course with the work files is more than enough. Read what is provided once through quickly to get breadth, depth and scope. Then perhaps read again more slowly for understanding, and then perhaps a third pass to fill in the gaps that practice exam questions have revealed. They can only ask you about what's in the scenario or what's in the syllabus. The syllabus is the same for every exam. The scenario is different for every exam. You have the opportunity to practice everything that's in the syllabus from the perspective of 2 scenarios for the foundation and practitioner exams included in the course materials here. You can do these repeatedly in order to aid your recall, and you will be, as you proceed, prepared. If you follow through everything that's included in the course materials, then you can approach the exam calmly, knowing that you have prepared. There are only 2 elements that they can ask you about in the exam, or that you will need to demonstrate in the exam. So the first element is the content of the official manual, which is a blue-grey covered book, but is thoroughly replaced by the reference materials that we provide you with here, and exam technique. And I'm going to cover that very shortly, and you may, of course, review that coverage as many times as you like. Every exam question, and therefore every exam answer, has to be about one of only a few well-known elements. For now, let's catalogue what they are, and later we'll explore their content and the interrelationship between their component parts. Every question has to be about some process. There are 7 processes in PRINCE. There's the starting up a project process, which receives the mandate, builds the team, and identifies what it is that we're trying to achieve. The initiating a project process that says how we're going to approach delivering the result. The controlling a stage and managing of product delivery processes, which are the project manager and specialist team members building products and being in control of the progress created. There's the stage boundary process that refreshes plans each time we get to a position where we've worked forwards through a defined stage but still have more project work to do. There's the closing the project process that says we're finished, and there's the decision making that happens between all the other chunks above the level of the project manager, which is the directing a project process. These 7 processes work by creating and exchanging project management products, as well as whatever specialist and technical products the project is creating for the user community. There are 26 specialist management products which cover progress reports and exception reports and configuration item records and a number of other record-keeping needs. And these processes and records and baselines are manipulated by somebody who fulfills some role within the PRINCE project. There are 9 possible roles. The executive, senior user and senior supplier together comprise the project board. The executive is the decision maker. The senior supplier says what's required, and the senior user provides the expertise to make it. These 3 roles together retain assurance accountability, and they also hold change authority, but they may delegate both project assurance and change authority activity to other people, normally on the basis of people with more expertise and/or time. Roles also include the project manager and of course the technical team members. Team members may be organised such that they have team managers, and project management may be such a large amount of activity that it needs support, either specialist support in terms of things like a critical path analysis or administrative support in terms of things such as booking rooms. But this is only half of the things that we need to consider, because there are another group of sevens that we need to consider. PRINCE operates on the basis of 7 principles. Those 7 principles say that there must always be a business justification for a project. Those 7 principles say that we should continuously strive to learn from experience, that the people following the business justification and using their experience have defined roles and responsibilities, that they manage and conduct the activities of the project on the basis of stages, each of which has defined tolerance levels, and that when those tolerance levels are under threat, we manage by exception. No news is good news is the other way of expressing that. And that all of this is only done in order to produce products, and that since the PRINCE manual expresses what is generally applicable to all projects in all contexts, everybody's specific project and specific context will need the method tailored to the specifics. There are also 7 themes which largely implement the principles. So the business justification is maintained, documented and supported and managed by the creation and progress of a business case throughout the life cycle of the project. The principles are further supported by the consideration of risk. The roles and responsibilities are expressed in organisation charts with reporting lines and delegated accountabilities. The creation of the project's products to the requirements of the customer obviously require an understanding of how to do testing and other quality activities. And we always, in a PRINCE project, are expected to follow a plan by tracking the progress that we've made and comparing that progress against the plan to understand whether we have achieved what we had expected to achieve or not. There are times when our project has achieved more or less, or when we want it to achieve something different to originally envisaged, and under those circumstances we need a process for change control, or we need a theme for change control. PRINCE also recognises that many techniques are required to deliver projects, but it only describes 2 for us. That's the product-based planning technique and the quality review technique. So a PRINCE exam question is going to have to be about 1 or more of the 7 processes, 1 or more of the 26 products, 1 or more of the 9 roles, 1 or more of the 7 principles, 7 themes and 2 techniques, and if it's not one of all of those, then it must be something that came from the scenario, and that's end of options. So here's a very simple thinking aid. Whenever you get an exam question and you think, I wonder what the answer to that should be, then think, what process are they referring to? What products are they referring to? What people, which is a cheat for the roles, an even bigger cheat, what theme or theme are they referring to? What principles are they referring to? What techniques? And how does that apply to the scenario? So every question must be about a process, a product, people, themes, principles, techniques, and the scenario. And that's it. If you can't work it out from there, guess and move on. There's no negative marking, so guessing gives you the chance of a mark that you wouldn't otherwise have got. To answer the questions in the exam, we need to know the principles and processes, but also how to refer to them using the right vocabulary. So in these materials we have some conventions to support differentiating when an expression of ideas is a quote from or a description of the manual's contents. The foundation exam quite often uses direct quotations from the official manual. Where those are reproduced in the course materials, then they use quotation marks in order to indicate that text has been quoted directly from the manual. So in these cases, these conventions show that we're using a vanilla text from the manual. So text in quotes normally a paraphrasing, but close to a literal expression of what's in the manual. Quotation marks are also used where I would otherwise, in my opinion, have said this is an odd way to express things. And if it's even more odd, then it will be followed by the Latin sic, to say literally so. Text is used in square brackets for two purposes. One, to encompass the 40 activity names within the 7 processes, but otherwise, and mainly, it's commentary on or addition to the Prince manual. So text in brackets is commentary on the manual, it's non-Prince vocabulary and thinking. I would suggest mostly you ignore it for the exam. It's adding additional understanding or commentary that in the practitioner exam you'll need to know how to consider in order to find the right answers. Text not in quotes or square brackets is also explanation of the manual's content, normally piecing together fragments from different chapters and different topic areas that are all talking about the same subject. Another set of referencing conventions that we need to be familiar with are those that relate the syllabus for the exam to the course materials, and the course materials to the official manual, and the official manual to the syllabus. So the syllabus is closely cross-referenced throughout the course materials, and in each syllabus reference there is a syllabus area, so for example IP for initiating a project, one of the processes we haven't yet seen in detail. And then there's an exam ID, which can only be P for practitioner or F for foundation. A learning level, which we will explain when we get to looking at the exam makeup. And an item number, which simply runs in sequence to a low number, normally less than 10. So anytime you see something like SU:(F:3-1, that would be starting up a project, foundation, question level 3, number 1. Anytime you see an entry such as 10.3.2.3, then these are section numbers from the official manual. So within chapter 10, if we look at 10.3, and within 10.3, which is chapter 10 is progress, 2.3 we get technical stages. So 10.3.2.3 is the conversation about technical stages within the official manual. If we need to look at a lower level of definition below that, then P3 or BP2 for paragraph or bullet point. So if you have a copy of the manual and you go and find at 10.3.2, the second bullet point underneath it will say give the ability to ensure, and at 10.3.2.3 paragraph 3 we can go 1, 2, 3, often the boundary. There are many abbreviations that it will be convenient for us to be able to share. So the Prince manual contains material in Appendix A, which is the management templates for the project management products, and these are generally referred to as things like A2 for the business case or A26 for a work package. I will always quote them all out in full. So the defined management products are in Appendix A of the manual and are numbered 1 through 26. When we write out their names, by convention they use title case, i.e. uppercase letters for the beginning of each significant word. There are the 7 principles, which may be referred to as principle number 1, 2, 3, 4, or they may be referred to by their name, management by exception. So most references to principles use the text, possibly an abbreviation, in which case I'll expand it, and rarely a number, but not exclusively. The role titles may be abbreviated. So for example, PB for project board, PM for project manager, PS for project support. This will be mainly in the diagrams where space is at a significant premium. Note that SU could be senior user, or it could be starting up a project. Context will always make it clear, or I will give the full explanation and full expansion. The 7 processes are the most commonly abbreviated, so SUIP. The process names such as starting up a project, all have an ing form, so directing a project, managing stage boundaries. Activity names, as I said to you previously, are enclosed in square brackets and are all lowercase, except where they include a proper noun. So, for example, appoint the executive being the name of a role, we have an uppercase or capital case expression in the name there. Activity names are always preceded by their manual section number. So authorize project closure is the last of the DP processes. DP is chapter 13 of the manual, and all activities are expressed in section 4 of the relevant chapter. So starting up a project is chapter 12, and initiating a project is chapter 14. Directing a project is chapter 13. They're all ing forms because they're all processes. Their activities are all expressed as lowercase, except where title case is used for specific names, normally of management products, such as the project initiation document here, or of management roles. Next, we should look at Prince's process structure and all the other components in complete breadth, but without really any detail or depth.